The fire truck's ladder extended toward our second-floor bathroom window as two paramedics struggled to separate my husband from a woman I'd never seen before. Both of them were screaming, their skin bright red and raw, stuck together like human glue. The crowd below pointed and whispered while I stood in my front yard, clutching a legal document that would change everything. "Ma'am, do you know what kind of adhesive they used?" the fire chief asked me, his face grim with concern. I looked up at the bathroom window where the chaos had erupted just 20 minutes ago. "Industrial grade," I said quietly. "The kind they use for permanent bonding." His eyes widened. This could cause serious injury. How did? "They'll be fine," I interrupted, holding up the papers in my hand. "But their plan to steal my bakery won't be." The paramedics' radio crackled with updates as they finally managed to separate the pair using a specialized solvent. My husband David stumbled toward the window, his face a mask of pain and rage. Behind him, a blonde woman I'd never met covered herself with a towel, tears streaming down her face. But this story doesn't start with fire trucks and emergency responders. It starts 3 months ago, when I first noticed the receipts. Before we continue, I want to ask you to hit that like button if you're ready for a wild ride, and don't forget to subscribe for more incredible true stories. Also, drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. I love connecting with viewers from around the world. 3 months earlier, I was living what I thought was a perfect life. My name is Rebecca, and I owned Sweet Dreams Bakery, a small but thriving business I'd built from scratch over 8 years. David, my husband of 10 years, worked in real estate and had always been supportive of my dreams. Or so I believed. The first red flag came on a Tuesday morning when I was doing laundry. A crumpled receipt fell from David's pants pocket. Dinner for 2 at Romano's, our anniversary restaurant. The date was from the previous Thursday, when he'd told me he was working late with a client. My stomach dropped, but I told myself there had to be an explanation. Maybe he was planning a surprise. Maybe it was a business dinner. I tucked the receipt away and tried to forget about it. But then came the second receipt. And the third. Always restaurants. Always for 2 people. Always on nights when David claimed to be working late or meeting clients. I started paying closer attention to his behavior. He was more secretive with his phone, tilting it away when he texted. He showered immediately after coming home, claiming he was sweaty from long days at the office. He started buying expensive cologne and wearing shirts I'd never seen before. The breaking point came when I found a long blonde hair on his collar, a hair that definitely wasn't mine. My hair is dark brown and shoulder length. This hair was platinum blonde and nearly reached his waist. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed listening to David's steady breathing, wondering who she was and how long this had been going on. But more than that, I wondered what I was going to do about it. The answer came the next morning when I overheard a phone conversation that chilled me to the bone. David was in his home office, door closed, speaking in hushed tones. I pressed my ear against the wood and caught fragments of his conversation. "The bakery's worth at least 300,000, he was saying. Maybe more with the equipment and customer base. My blood ran cold. He was talking about my bakery. "She has no idea," David continued. "Once we're divorced, I'll get half of everything. Then we can sell it and use the money for our new venture." I backed away from the door, my heart pounding. David wasn't just cheating on me, he was planning to destroy everything I'd worked for. The bakery wasn't just my business, it was my life's work, my identity, my future. But I wasn't going to let that happen without a fight. I just had to be smart about it. Over the next few weeks, I became a detective in my own home. I started documenting everything, photographing receipts, recording David's lies about where he'd been, even following him twice to confirm my suspicions. The second time I followed him, I discovered her identity. Her name was Victoria, and she worked at a high-end salon downtown. She was beautiful in an artificial way, perfect makeup, designer clothes, and that platinum blonde hair I'd found on David's collar. But more importantly, I discovered that Victoria wasn't just David's mistress. She was his business partner in more ways than one. Through careful investigation, I learned that Victoria had a history of targeting married business owners. She would seduce them, help orchestrate their divorces, and then profit from the division of assets. She'd done it twice before, leaving behind a trail of broken marriages and bankrupt businesses. David thought he was the mastermind, but he was just another mark in Victoria's long con. Armed with this information, I knew I needed more than just evidence of an affair. I needed proof of their plan to steal my bakery. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I hired a private investigator. The PI, a sharp woman named Janet, worked quickly. Within 2 weeks, she had recordings of David and Victoria discussing their scheme in detail. They planned to claim that my bakery was marital property, force me to sell it during the divorce proceedings, and then buy it themselves at a reduced price through a shell company Victoria had already established. It was brilliant. It was ruthless. And it was about to backfire spectacularly. But before I could take legal action, I needed one more piece of evidence. Something that would prove their relationship beyond any doubt and show the premeditated nature of their fraud. That's when I found the massage lotion. I was cleaning our master bathroom when I noticed something odd under the sink. Behind the cleaning supplies and extra toilet paper, hidden in the far corner, was a small bottle of intimate massage lotion that I'd never seen before. The bottle was expensive, from a boutique adult store downtown. It was clearly meant for David and Victoria's encounters in our home, in our bed, in our bathroom, in the spaces that were supposed to be sacred to our marriage. As I held that bottle, a plan began to form. A plan that would expose their relationship in the most dramatic way possible while giving me the final piece of evidence I needed. I carefully photographed the bottle, noting its exact position and the dust patterns around it. Then I drove to a hardware store across town and bought something very special. A bottle of industrial-strength adhesive that looked remarkably similar to the massage lotion. The adhesive was designed for permanent bonding of metal and plastic. The label warned that it would bond to skin in seconds and could cause chemical burns if not handled properly. It was exactly what I needed. Back home, I carefully emptied the massage lotion into a separate container and filled the original bottle with the adhesive. The color was nearly identical, and the consistency was close enough that someone wouldn't notice the difference until it was too late. Then I returned the bottle to its exact hiding spot and waited. I didn't have to wait long. The private investigator had told me that David and Victoria met at our house every Tuesday and Friday when I was supposed to be at the bakery for inventory and late-night baking sessions. That Tuesday, I told David I'd be working late as usual. Instead, I parked around the corner and waited. At 8 p.m., Victoria's red BMW pulled into our driveway. She let herself in with a key I'd never given her. A key David had obviously made. I waited 30 minutes, then called Janet the PI. "It's time," I told her. "Bring the camera and meet me at the house." My hands were shaking as I drove home. Part of me felt guilty for what I was about to do. But then I remembered David's voice on the phone, talking about selling my bakery like it was just another piece of property to be divided up and discarded. I parked in the driveway behind Victoria's car, blocking her exit. Janet positioned herself across the street with a long-range camera. I took out my phone and called 911. "I need to report a break-in," I told the dispatcher. "There are strangers in my house, and I think they might be injured. I can hear screaming." It wasn't a lie. The screaming started exactly 3 minutes after I hung up the phone. The sound that came from our second-floor bathroom was unlike anything I'd ever heard. It was David's voice, but higher and more panicked than I'd ever heard it. Victoria was screaming too, a sound of pure terror and pain. I walked calmly to the front door and let myself in. The screaming intensified as I climbed the stairs. "David," I called out innocently. "Is everything okay? I came home early because I forgot some paperwork." "Don't come up here," David shouted from the bathroom. "Call 911. We need help." "We?" I asked, pausing at the top of the stairs. "Who's we, David? I thought you were working late tonight." The silence that followed was deafening. Then Victoria's voice, high and panicked. "Please, we need medical help. Something's wrong with the massage lotion." I finished for her, pushing open the bathroom door. The scene before me was exactly what I'd expected, but it was still shocking to see. David and Victoria were partially undressed, stuck together in the most compromising position imaginable. The adhesive had worked exactly as intended, bonding their skin where it had made contact. David's face went from pain to horror as he saw me standing in the doorway. "Rebecca, I can explain." "Can you?" I pulled out my phone and started recording. "Because I'd love to hear how you explain this. Especially to the divorce court." Victoria was crying now, both from pain and humiliation. "Please, we need medical help. This burns." "Industrial adhesive will do that," I said calmly. "It's not designed for intimate use. Unlike the massage lotion you thought you were using." David's eyes widened with understanding. "You knew. You planned this." "I planned a lot of things," I said, pulling the legal documents from my purse. "Including having you served with divorce papers and a restraining order. And having your business bank accounts frozen pending an investigation into fraud." The sound of sirens filled the air as emergency responders arrived. I'd given them enough time to document everything they needed while David and Victoria suffered the consequences of their deception. Are you enjoying this wild story so far? If so, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more incredible true stories. Your support means everything to me, and I love sharing these experiences with all of you. The fire department had to use specialized solvents to separate David and Victoria, a process that took nearly an hour and required both of them to be treated for chemical burns. The entire time, Janet was photographing everything from across the street, documenting the affair in the most undeniable way possible. But the real drama was just beginning. While the paramedics worked on David and Victoria, I handed the legal documents to the police officer who responded to my break-in call. The documents weren't just divorce papers. They were criminal fraud charges I'd filed that morning with the help of a prosecutor who specialized in financial crimes. "Ma'am, are you pressing charges for the break-in?" the officer asked. "Actually, there was no break-in," I admitted. "My husband gave this woman a key to our house. But I am pressing charges for conspiracy to commit fraud, identity theft, and theft by deception." I handed him a thick folder containing all the evidence Janet and I had gathered over the past month. Bank records showing David had opened accounts in my name without my knowledge. Recorded conversations discussing their plan to steal my bakery. Documentation of Victoria's previous cons against other business owners. The officer's eyebrows rose as he flipped through the papers. "This is serious stuff, ma'am. You'll need to come down to the station to make a formal statement." "I'm ready," I said, watching as David and Victoria were finally separated and loaded into separate ambulances. "I've been ready for weeks." David looked at me through the ambulance window, his face a mixture of pain, humiliation, and rage. "You destroyed my life," he mouthed. I walked over to the ambulance window. "No, David. You destroyed your own life. I just documented it." As the ambulances pulled away, I turned to face the crowd of neighbors who had gathered to watch the spectacle. Some of them knew about my bakery and had been customers for years. Others were just curious about the drama unfolding in their quiet neighborhood. "Show's over," I announced calmly. "But if anyone wants fresh croissants in the morning, Sweet Dreams Bakery opens at 6 a.m., and we're running a special on our anniversary blend coffee." Even in the middle of the most dramatic night of my life, I couldn't help but think like a business owner. My bakery was going to survive this. I was going to make sure of it. The legal proceedings that followed were swift and decisive. The evidence against David and Victoria was overwhelming, and Victoria's history of similar cons made the prosecution's case even stronger. David was charged with conspiracy to commit fraud and theft by deception. Victoria faced those same charges plus identity theft and running a continuing criminal enterprise. Both were looking at serious prison time. But the best part was what happened to their plan. Because I'd acted quickly to document their scheme and freeze their assets, the court ruled that David had forfeited any claim to my bakery or its proceeds. The business I'd built from nothing remained entirely mine. The divorce was finalized within 6 months. David lost everything: our house, his real estate license, and his freedom. He was sentenced to 3 years in prison and ordered to pay restitution for the emotional and financial damage he'd caused. Victoria got 5 years, thanks to her repeat offender status. The shell company she'd set up to buy my bakery was dissolved, and its assets were used to compensate her previous victims. But perhaps the most satisfying consequence was what happened to their relationship. Turns out that being literally stuck together during the most humiliating moment of your life isn't great for romance. By the time they were released from the hospital, they couldn't stand each other. Victoria blamed David for not being careful with the lotion. David blamed Victoria for getting him involved in her criminal scheme. They spent their court hearings glaring at each other from opposite sides of the room, each trying to minimize their own sentence by maximizing their partner's guilt. It was beautiful to watch. 6 months after that dramatic night, I was featured in a local business magazine as Entrepreneur of the Year. The publicity from the court case had actually helped my bakery. People loved the story of the small business owner who outsmarted the con artists trying to steal her life's work. Sweet Dreams Bakery expanded into catering and opened a second location. I hired 4 new employees and started offering baking classes on weekends. The business I'd nearly lost became more successful than I'd ever imagined. But the real victory wasn't financial, it was personal. I'd discovered a strength I didn't know I had. When faced with betrayal and the potential loss of everything I'd worked for, I didn't just survive, I fought back smartly and won completely. The massage lotion incident became legendary in our neighborhood. People still talk about the night the fire department had to separate 2 cheaters who got stuck together during their affair. It's become a cautionary tale about karma and the dangers of underestimating a woman who's built something from nothing. I kept the original bottle of massage lotion as a reminder, not of David's betrayal, but of my own resourcefulness. Sometimes when I'm having a bad day at the bakery or dealing with difficult customers, I look at that bottle and remember what I'm capable of when pushed to my limits. The private investigator, Janet, became a good friend. She told me that in 20 years of investigating adultery cases, she'd never seen someone turn the tables so completely on their cheating spouse. She now refers clients to me when they need advice on protecting their business assets during a divorce. David wrote me letters from prison for the first year, alternating between apologies and accusations. I never responded. There was nothing left to say. He'd made his choices, and I'd made mine. Victoria tried to contact me once after her release, claiming she'd been manipulated by David and asking for my forgiveness. I had my lawyer respond with a cease and desist order. Some betrayals don't deserve forgiveness, especially when they're premeditated and calculated to destroy an innocent person's life. The house David and I had shared was sold to pay legal fees and restitution. I bought a smaller place closer to the bakery, a cozy cottage with a garden where I grow herbs for my baking. It's not as grand as the house I shared with David, but it's mine, and it's filled with genuine happiness instead of lies and deception. People often ask me if I regret my methods that night. They wonder if the adhesive trick was too extreme, too dangerous, too vindictive. My answer is always the same. David and Victoria chose to betray me in the most intimate way possible, in my own home, while plotting to steal the business I'd spent 8 years building. They showed no mercy in their plan to destroy my life, so why should I have shown mercy in exposing theirs? The adhesive caused temporary pain and embarrassment. Their plan would have caused permanent financial and emotional devastation. I simply made sure the consequences of their actions were immediate and undeniable instead of slow and hidden. Besides, they recovered from the adhesive burns within a few weeks. It took me years to rebuild the trust and emotional security they'd destroyed with their betrayal. Sometimes people ask if I'm dating again, if I'm ready to trust another partner after what David did to me. The answer is complicated. I'm open to love, but I'm much wiser about protecting what I've built. Any future partner will have to understand that my bakery isn't just my business, it's my identity, my security, and my legacy. It's not negotiable or divisible. I've also learned to trust my instincts. When something feels wrong, I investigate instead of making excuses. When someone's words don't match their actions, I pay attention to the actions. And when someone threatens something I've worked for, I fight back with everything I have. The night with the fire trucks and the adhesive was dramatic, but it wasn't the end of my story, it was the beginning of a better chapter. A chapter where I'm in control of my own destiny, where I'm surrounded by people who genuinely support my dreams, and where I never again have to wonder if the person sleeping next to me is plotting my destruction. Sweet Dreams Bakery is more successful than ever. I've written a cookbook featuring my most popular recipes, and I'm considering franchising opportunities in neighboring cities. What started as a small neighborhood bakery is becoming a regional brand, and it's all mine. The cottage I live in now has a sign by the front door that reads, "Sweet dreams start here." It's a reference to the bakery, but it's also a reminder that sometimes our worst nightmares lead us to our best dreams. Every morning when I unlock the bakery and turn on the ovens, I think about how close I came to losing it all. How David and Victoria almost succeeded in their plan to steal everything I'd worked for. But then I remember how it actually ended, with them stuck together, humiliated, and facing prison time while I emerged stronger and more successful than ever. That's the power of fighting smart instead of just fighting hard. That's the difference between being a victim and being a victor. And that's why, even though the adhesive incident lasted only one night, its effects will last for the rest of my life. Not because of the pain it caused David and Victoria, but because of the strength it revealed in me. I discovered that I'm not the kind of woman who quietly accepts betrayal. I'm not the type to let someone steal my dreams without a fight. And I'm definitely not the kind of person who goes down without taking the people who wronged me down with me. The massage lotion may have been the catalyst, but the real story is about a woman who refused to let her life's work be stolen by people who saw her as nothing more than a stepping stone to their own success. They underestimated me, and that was their biggest mistake. Before we wrap up this incredible story, I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to fight to protect something you'd worked hard for? Have you ever discovered a betrayal that changed everything? Drop your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. I read every single one and love connecting with viewers who faced similar challenges. Your stories inspire me and help others who might be going through tough times. And if you enjoyed this wild ride of justice and revenge, please share it with someone who might need to hear it. Sometimes we all need a reminder that we're stronger than we think and that justice, even delayed, is still worth fighting for. Until next time, remember, sweet dreams are built by people who refuse to let nightmares win.